السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله رب العالمين. والصلاة والسلام على سيدنا محمد وأهل بيته الطيبين الطاهرين. This is our last episode on the peace treaty between Imam Hasan Ali Hassan and Muawiyah bin Abi Sufyan. How did Muawiyah become so powerful and influential to the extent that he was able to almost defeat Imam Ali alayhi salam in the Battle of Siffin and defeat Imam Hasan alayhi salam with the peace treaty? A man who accepted Islam just 2 years before the death of the Prophet. A man who was fighting Islam and Muslims for almost 20 years with his father, Abu Sufyan. What happens? A man who was a fierce enemy of Islam right from the beginning in Mecca, and when Islam came to Medina, he and his father and his family and his tribe were the fierce opponents of this religion. A man with his family who persecuted the Muslims. They drove them out, they expelled them from their land, from their homes in Mecca. They appropriated their wealth in Mecca. They tortured the early Muslims in Mecca, and then they came to Medina to launch war against the Prophet. What happened? What happened to the Muslim Ummah to appoint such a person? Can you trust such a person who has a long history of betrayal, of animosity, of hatred against Islam? There is a blood on his hand, the blood of the innocents, the Muslims, in Mecca and Medina. The story begins when Abu Bakr appointed his brother as a governor on Syria, followed by Umar ibn al-Khattab, who appointed Muawiyah as a governor, reaffirmed his position there. So this is the beginning of the story. This is the beginning of the tragedy that struck Islam with Bani Umayyah. This is the beginning of the infiltration of Umayyad dynasty, Umayyad clan into the Islamic faith, into the Islamic territory. Muawiyah was very cunning, and he would spend a lot of money on public relations. His PR was very strong. When he was in Sham, in Syria, in Damascus, he would build relationships not only with the people of Syria, but with neighboring countries. And he made himself very popular. Just like some of the governments today who are ruling Mecca and Medina, when they are generous, with giving gifts, portraying themselves to be custodians of Islam and the holy shrines. They are doing favors to many governments, and some of these other governments and other leaders, they would submit to them. They kiss up to the tyrants. This is the story of Muawiyah bin Abi Sufyan, 1300 years ago. And through their brainwashing, seducing the Ummah, Muawiyah was, through his guile, through his cunningness, slowly, he created the deep state. He purchased people's conscience. He secured their loyalties. They were his firm supporters. They were in fact promoting him, defending him. And the Muslims, the Muslim Ummah, my friends, the Muslim Ummah would always say, oh yes, he was bad, but now he's good. He accepted Islam. Al-Islamu yajubbu ma qablah. Islam is the religion that would erase and drop all the charges against you before, the old charges, once you accept Islam. And beside, he would say, I'm from the tribe of the Prophet, Quraysh, which is true. Quraysh was the huge tribe, but within this tribe there were another 20 sub-tribes and households and families. One of them was Bani Hashim, the other was Bani Umayyah. But they were rivals. They were not on a good term. But people did not know, my friends. People, when they say someone, his zahir, his exterior is Islamic, then they get deceived. Easily deceived. Especially when you have a strong propaganda machine. When you spend lots of money on propaganda. When you hire some orators and speakers, and some companions of the Prophet sometimes would promote him because they get paid. They were on the payroll. He attracted many people, my friends. From Medina, they moved to Sham. Many of the companions, they left their homes in Medina going to Sham to stay with him and defend him and work for him because he has money. He has money. And money talks, my friend. Umar ibn al-Khattab, when it comes to his governors, he was very tough. Umar ibn al-Khattab was monitoring his governors. And he was very tough with them. For instance, with Khalid ibn al-Walid, who he appointed in Hims, Syria, during his reign, the reign of Umar ibn al-Khattab, when he discovered that Khalid gave a huge sum of money to Al-Ash'ath. So Umar traveled to Syria. He went to the city of Hims. He summoned Khalid to the central mosque of Hims. And he questioned him. In fact, he interrogated him. He said to him, listen, you have given a lot of money to this corrupt person. So tell me, if the money is yours, private property, then you are wasting your money. This is israf. This is excessiveness. Why do you give it to someone who doesn't deserve? If the money is the state's money, the people's money, the treasury's money, then this is a treason. This is an act of theft. You are using the people's money to bribe or to gift people. You are stealing. This is a theft. This was Umar. And then he deposed Khalid. Did not allow him to go back to the government until Khalid died. Same thing he did with Abi Huraira. Abu Huraira ad-Dusi, his full name. He was criticized and chided, and almost Umar ibn al-Khattab threatened to physically discipline him, saying to him, لَقَدْ أَكْثَرْتَ الرِّوَايَةَ عَلَى رَسُولِ اللَّهِ. Too much stories about the Prophet, too much narrations. Where you were? You were only one year and 7 or 9 months with the Prophet. Why this a huge number of hadith? Where do you bring these hadiths from? This was Umar's conversation with Abi Huraira. If you read the history, but do not read history written by people who work for governments and political establishments. Read the history written by independent people, honest people. So Umar was tough with many of his ummal. Ummal means people who worked for him, the governors who worked for him. But when it came, surprisingly, when it came to Muawiyah, Umar never said anything to him, knowing that he is corrupt. In fact, when Umar ibn al-Khattab traveled to Syria and he looked at the lifestyle, extravagant lifestyle, wastefulness of Muawiyah bin Abi Sufyan, he says, Akisrawiyatun ya Muawiyah? Is it monarchy? Is it an empire? You forgot about yourself? You are similar to the rulers of Iran and the Roman Empire. When they plunder the wealth of their nations and they leave their people hungry, and they build these palaces and mansions, and they spend money on themselves. They waste the money of the treasury. This is, Umar did say it to Muawiyah. He reminded him. But other than that, he knew that Muawiyah is corrupt. For some reasons. Umar ibn al-Khattab did not clash with Muawiyah. Neither deposed him. He kept him there. So Muawiyah bin Abi Sufyan developed more self-confidence. He became more tyrant and more corrupt. As long as the top caliph is not questioning him, is not interrogating him, is not saying anything to him. So he became more corrupt until the time of Uthman ibn Affan. That is the ultimate period where Muawiyah, because Uthman is from Bani Umayyah, and here nepotism plays a role, and favoritism. So Muawiyah was endorsed, he was empowered, he was reaffirmed, he was blessed by Uthman ibn Affan, and for almost 20 years, my friends, Muawiyah stayed in Damascus enjoying his time. There is no transparency, there is no accountability, there is no one to dare to criticize him. This is how it started. Muawiyah did not come from vacuum. Muawiyah was not created overnight. Muawiyah was promoted and supported by caliphs in Medina who did not hold him accountable for some reasons. Whether they couldn't, definitely they knew what he did. Why they agreed with him, why they supported him, God knows. But when the turn came to Imam Ali alayhi salam, he said, never, I don't care who Muawiyah is. Anyone who has been wrongly appointed and he's not fit for that position has to go. Any money has been taken from the treasury has to come back with no justification. Any money Uthman spent on his relatives, they have to bring it back. This is theft. This money belongs to the people. And Imam Ali was tough. So they came to him, they said, oh, Imam Ali, please, Muawiyah is very strong. So leave him alone. Don't go after him. Don't chase him. Don't say anything about him. In fact, you have to keep him there because he's a troublemaker. Imam Ali did not listen. He said no. Government is about justice. I cannot leave him. Leave him for what? For when? Who's going to change him if I don't change him? People entrusted me, people elected me after Uthman, expecting me to implement justice. And if I fail in this mission, then I'm not fit. Then I am kha'in. Then I am betraying my nation, the people who elected me. And I know it will cost me. And it cost him his life. After 4 years and 9 months, he was killed. But Imam Ali left a good legacy, a legacy of firmness, a legacy that tells you you have to be firm with the corrupts. Do not succumb. The battle is long, but surely you're going to be successful. Imam Ali refused to accept him. And he said a sentence very important, we must memorize it. We must practice it. Every politician, every leader, be it political leader, spiritual leader of any country, should appreciate what Imam Ali said. Imam Ali said, أتطلبون مني أن أطلب النصر بالجور? Do you expect me to seek victory through corruption? Muawiyah is corrupt. How can I seek victory through him? Victory and islah and peace and stability and prosperity and equality and freedom and democracy would not come through corruption, my friends. You have to eradicate corruption first. So Imam Hasan Ali Hassan, when he decided to sign the peace treaty, he wanted the ummah, the whole community, whether in Sham or in Hijaz or Iraq or Egypt or elsewhere or Yemen, to realize, to understand, to discover. Many of them had already discovered, but still there were some people who were naive and ignorant. He wanted them to know the reality of Muawiyah bin Abi Sufyan. He wanted, in fact, to give a chance to Muawiyah to come and dominate and rule, so people know who he is. People know the truth about Muawiyah and Bani Umayyah. People realize that there is a different version of Islam. There is the Islam of Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam and his righteous companions and his righteous household and family, Ahlulbayt. But there is a different version, a corrupted version, the Islam of the Umayyad Islam, which did exist from the time of Muawiyah, and it does exist today too, in some countries, in some societies. The Umayyad version. Umayyad version represents the terrible Islam, the terrorist Islam, the corrupt Islam, the Islam that hates everyone, Islam that wants to destroy the whole world. This is represented by Umayyad and Muawiyah. The Islam of ISIS, the Islam of Al-Qaeda, the Islam of Shabab in Somalia, the Islam of Boko Haram. That Islam is the Islam of Muawiyah bin Abi Sufyan and his son Yazid and many other corrupts. But the Islam of Prophet Muhammad is Islam of mercy and kindness and forgiveness and love and affection. وَمَا أَرْسَلْنَاكَ إِلَّا رَحْمَةً لِلْعَالَمِينَ. The Prophet was sent and his family nothing but mercy and affection for mankind. Unfortunately, Muawiyah proved to the entire nations that he is unreliable. And he intensified, in fact, when he had a ceasefire with Imam Hassan and he assumed the Khilafah, he intensified his persecution, his animosity of the innocent people, of his opponents, everywhere. Scores of them lost their lives, they lost their homes, they lost their wealth. Scores of them were scattered in the land. They had to run away. They had to flee their homes and their communities. Ultimately, it resulted in the death of Imam Hasan Ali Hassan by poison. And also when Muawiyah appointed his son Yazid, up to that time, many people still agreed with him, but when they saw him appointing Yazid as his successor, even Aisha, the wife of the Prophet, the daughter of Abu Bakr, she was furious. She was yelling at Muawiyah. Therefore, some historians speculate that Aisha was killed by Muawiyah bin Abi Sufyan because she stood against him. She refused the appointment of his son Yazid to be the caliph. Many of those companions of the Prophet who were still alive at that time, they refused. So he showed his true color, that he's not there for Islam, he's there for Bani Umayyah and Abi Sufyan, this wicked tree. ومثل كلمة خبيثة كشجرة خبيثة اجتثت من فوق الأرض ما لها من قرار. The wicked tree. شجرة الملعونة, as this book says, والشجرة الملعونة في القرآن, the cursed tree, and that is the tree of Bani Umayyah. People realized, people started now to wake up and distinguish and realize that Imam Hasan was right. He kept telling us, and his father before him, and even his grandfather, who said, do not allow. The grandfather, the Prophet said, don't allow Bani Umayyah to get hold of power. They will destroy my ummah. They will twist the facts. They will twist this religion. Don't allow them. But it happened. It happened. وسيعلم الذين ظلموا أي منقلب ينقلبون. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته.